All right, so we're taking a look at July 17th. That's going to be a Thursday. Looking at the yearly here first. I wanted to draw a zone around the price action over the last handful of sessions here. Uh, the just today, I'll tell you, the overnight session is closing around right here. So I'm not going to go forward on this chart because that's going to give away what happens on the next day. But just to give an idea of what we're looking at, the overnight session opened and closed right here, and then we came down to test this level. So essentially, we've got a tail right around the 8 EMA, and then we came right back up. So we did test this area here, and we're about to open right here. So main takeaway from the yearly is we're just around the 8 EMA. In order to see obvious strength, we need to create separation from that, like I had said on the prior day. But this is indicating to me we're right in the middle of this zone. So I'm expecting two-way auction, or in other words, chop. So that's what the yearly is telling me. Taking a look at the market profile, this was yesterday's price action. We have a nice tail to the low side. We had broken this kind of nuanced level where the overnight was unable to get below these levels past, call it 2 weeks or so. That does complete the auction to the low side. Again, all of these areas, these are all the days and the overnight session that we just saw on the yearly. So the thing about today is, if you notice, this is basically one huge zone from here to here and all the way across. We're literally opening up right in the middle of that. There's not much you can say in terms of creating a bullish or a bearish bias, based on that. So what we have to lean on is the most recent price action, which is yesterday we created a tail that says the auction cycle is complete to the low side, and we're neutral to bullish because of that. But again, we're opening right in the middle of this giant range, so expect two-way auction if anything. The other thing we have that's a slight nod to the bulls would be this 45-degree angle right here in the overnight session, suggesting that that level should be secure, right? Even though that we do expect to have a two-way auction today, we do have some slight nods to the bulls. So I just mentioned that tail to the low side right here. Another one would be this is yesterday's profile. We're opening above the point of control and we're holding above it. That is bullish. Expect just another nod to the bulls, or expect the next day belonging to the bulls as long as we can hold that level. I wouldn't have a short bias until we broke that level. And I think that's about all we got from the market profile. On the weekly, you can see this big distribution here on the 5-day and the 20-day volume profile. Yesterday, we had taken a peek below these levels. There was no sellers. We came back up. We completed the law of market dynamics, where if price accepts into an area, we're likely to traverse that area. So right now, we're at that completion of traversing that area. So the question is, are we going to break above, or are we going to traverse to the bottom of that area, or are we just going to go sideways all day? I mean, price is either going to go up, down, or sideways. There's no fourth direction. What I have noticed is once we do traverse an area, you tend to get some chop around that, which on a day like today, you shouldn't be surprised because we're in the middle of that big distribution area. If price does start to traverse this area, I'd be interested in shorts around here. These are the low volume nodes. Again, we're not taking any trades except for low volume node locations. And this is where we potentially be doing it. And because of the two-way trade nature of today, I'd be interested in taking a long and short here, a long and short here. Once we approach that level, what's going to determine my direction is going to be cumulative delta, volume, and tempo, as always. Those are my three pieces of criteria I'm using for execution. And then once we have that, it's just a matter of what is the location that we want to take the trade. So those are my, call it 4 scenarios today, or technically 2 if we're just waiting for a price to react to these levels and figure out if we want to go long or short. Going long right here, I'd like to see price start to build a little bit of distribution above and then come back and test it. Right here, I mean, if we've just right off the open, if we have negative delta and a lot of volume, then that's going to tell me that, you know, we're likely going to be short-term bearish. Once price gets to this level, if we even do, again, that's where if we do start to build some value around that and it looks like the volume and the delta are going to be negative, I'll take a short. If we approach that level with a slow pace and sellers are just not showing up and we've got low volume, that's where I'd potentially take a long. All right, so here's what today looked like. At the open, 8:30 is right around here. So this is going to be the weekly chart, just showing you a little more expanded view. Obviously, I think the scenario 1 played out where we just took off to the upside after we got some high delta and high volume around this level. We did. It looks like we're going to have a couple different opportunities to take a trade there. We'll look at that in a second, but that's what that looks like. Looking at the volume profile, honestly, I kind of prefer looking at this when this just makes a little more sense to me. I've been looking at this for the better part of 2 years, understanding how it works, and just seeing the market in this view just, I don't know, makes more sense to me. Anyway, you can see here, A period, we broke right above that. B period chopped around a little bit, C period the same, and then D through the rest of them broke off, and then we closed around the high of that range that we saw on the yearly. So let's go into the execution chart and see where we may have had an opportunity to enter. So here's the whole day on the execution chart, a little more zoomed in. You've got 8:30 right here. So as we're moving forward, we've got, and this volume on the bottom is going to be a little bit skewed just because we've got this massive volume on the side. Let me see if I can fix it. There we go. So taking a look at this, we've got the open, big buying delta accompanied with a fair amount of volume. You have right here at the open, you've got a lot of negative volume, I should say, with negative delta, but the delta just wasn't all that significant. So that's actually something I'm gonna replay, is when you have a lot of volume right here and delta really doesn't go anywhere, you don't have significant delta, that's a good sign that sellers are just not going to continue to show up. You have a lot of volume right there, but price didn't really go anywhere, and neither did delta. Then after that, this is obviously a sample size of 1, but once the delta started to increase with volume, obviously you see some price increase there. So here's where, let's see here, this is 8:30. We've got moving up, potentially getting in right here. And that would have been stopped out. So at about 8:57, or call it 9 o'clock, getting in and having a stop loss a little bit below there. Moving forward, would have gotten stopped out. So this is where I'm not going to call it a nuance, because I do want to eventually really play in with the VWAP here, my standard deviation bands. Because often what I've seen is if you've got large buyers on the day and they're all buying at VWAP, they don't want price to go below that. They're just going to continue buying at these levels, this line right here. So even though we're not above that low volume node right here, that's not the end all be all. If one of my rules was to take a trade only above the low volume node or only above this area, then I would have missed out until right here. Still would have made money, but this is where the opportunity is, right? So obviously right here, you see price is chopping around VWAP. Right at the open, price was unable to get below VWAP, okay, which was the prior day's close as well. And that's where we have that high volume with not a lot of delta. So that right there is sort of a hint that we're probably not going to be going below VWAP or prior day's close. You don't really know yet. And then after we started to increase like this, price bounced off of VWAP after we would have got our first trade closed out for a loss. and then we bounced off of VWAP again, and that would have been the entry. That would have been a good entry signal, even though we don't have a lot of volume right here. I mean, basically what you want to look at is you're trying to weigh everything, not have any hard rules on everything, but you're trying to weigh everything in terms of like, what's the probability price is going to be going lower, and everything right here. So you've got prices increasing. We're in an uptrend. So pretty much from here to that point, uptrend. From here to that point, uptrend. You've got some negative delta right here with some decent volume compared to what we have right there. But you have to factor in the price not being able to break below VWAP. So that is something I'll be recording as well. You know, if you're going to have hard rules for entry like that, you're going to be probably taking less trades and more winners. But if you can weigh everything sort of at once, which is what I'm finding is what you need to be doing in trading. You know, if I've got 10 things I need to follow and I need 7 of them in order to take a trade, sometimes you have 5, maybe 6, or whatever the case may be. But some are going to be weighted more than others at times, and you just need to figure out which ones to weigh more, right? So just because I didn't have another spike in volume like right here, like I've seen on other videos, doesn't mean I shouldn't take the trade. It's I don't have a spike in volume, so what else am I leaning on? Well, I'm leaning on an upward trajectory in delta, an upward trajectory in price, and the fact that we haven't been able to get below VWAP yet, and we're holding above the prior day's close. And right here, the prior day high, bounced off of that. So it's hard to think of that in the moment when you're trading, but that's why we're doing this. That's why I'm creating these videos, so I can go back and sort of see these sequences and be able to remember that in live trading, and seeing these and just that repetition is I think what's going to get me there. So gonna make that sequence, but good day to trade. One of the scenarios did play out, and pretty obvious reasons why. And thanks for tuning in.